But I think that, I have a lot of stuff coming up, in this holiday season, whatever. And so it's like, I don't know, I posted about it the other day about like kind of having new rules for myself. And like that before it was kind of like, okay, no drinking, like kind of 0 to 100 real quick, whatever. And like, cut it out. And then now I'm like, you know what? It would be nice to have like some champagne or to have something at a wedding or to do something, to that effect. But hey, everyone, welcome to Love Your Body Podcast. As I'm eating my almonds away from the mic, I don't care. This is how life is. This is how it's going to be. Today we have the amazing and beautiful Mel Haynes, and she is on today. If you've seen my Instagram, you've seen her before on the podcast, just like, Mel, introduce yourself, because you were like the mom of Next Level, but also like a mama to me. Like we were just like cutting my hair a second ago. But you're like, I don't know, such a beautiful soul, beautiful energy, beautiful light. You've come to Move Fit. You've always supported my mission. You've been here time and time again when I've needed you. And I know when a lot of people have needed you. So everyone leans on you constantly. And I just wanted to like have you on to talk about all the things. So.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.
So I am, I guess, kind of co-owner of Next Level Fitness with my husband, Jack.
Yep.
And have 2 awesome boys that are 7 and 10, keep us insanely busy.
Yeah.
Also training full time, and have just had she'd mentioned, we're just going to talk about your journey. And I said, well, I've had a lot of journeys.
Yeah.
So we'll just kind of see which way it goes.
Exactly. Like, the biggest thing about like, with the LYB podcast is just being able to tell our stories and things like that. And you are a, personal trainer. You deal with people's stuff all the time, and what I've always noticed and always respected about you is that literally everyone always comes up to you like, I don't know how you get anything done, because like at the gym, like they're either asking you for something, needing something. Like I always tried to like not, because for those of you listening, I used to train at Next Level Fitness, and did that for about 4 years, and as a private personal training studio, and it's great, and it's right there in Nashville, off of Church Street. And like basically, when I was there, it was like everyone always was pulling you in one direction or the other. So mentally, like, how do you deal with that? Because you're dealing with not only your clients, but then your husband, but then your kids. I mean, like everything. Like, how do you do it?
Sometimes really well, sometimes less well.
Yeah.
Right. But to be honest, and maybe it's just part of my personality type, whatever, but that it fills my soul. It really does. To be able to be there for someone in need, or just be a support system, whether that's for a coworker, or that's for a client, or that's for my own family in some regard. It really does give me a lot of joy.
Yeah.
But I've found that I've had to kind of come up with making sure that I'm balancing it well, where I'm not continually pouring out and not refilling my own tank.
Right. So how do you refill your own tank? Because literally when I say to you guys that she's like a super mom, like she is. And for those of you who are watching like on YouTube, awesome. But for those of you just listening, I just want to preface this and say, like, Mel has like one of the most beautiful, strong figures, like 6-pack abs. Like you're just like so strong. Like literally everyone was always shook in the gym of like, she's had 2 kids. Like, they were always so confused and like, no, and I hate that, because it's like, moms are strong and can be strong.
Yeah.
You have to put yourself first, and you always made sure to get, get your workouts in, and so many things I respect about you in that. So it's just like, how do you, I don't know, how have you kind of dealt with like all of that? Like
life and balance and just having your own goals. And so, I mean, I think a lot of things I've learned along the way have kind of come into figuring out the path that works best for me, and, allowing myself to giving myself more grace in the process. Backstory, which if you listen to the original podcast we did, suffered from a very severe eating disorder kind of in my college years, came through that after a while. And I think just those years after that, it was just a continual season of growth and figuring out who I was, and like what did I need to be doing to not only live my most joyful life, but have enough left over for the people in my life that I cared about. And so as far as you kind of said, how are you finding that balance, or how are you, taking care of yourself through this as well? I think when the boys were tiny, there was no balance.
Right.
Everything was being poured into them. I got really injured after my second was born. And so there wasn't any of that really release with exercise and endorphins for a minute, and then you're sleep deprived, and there's a lot. But I think over the course of time, and especially over the last few years, the boys have become a lot more independent.
Right.
And we've just kind of gotten a good flow of chaos, but controlled chaos in the family. And so I think I do find a lot of joy in lifting and exercise. And then when it comes to nutrition, that looks so different for so many people, right? And for me, I've kind of gotten to the point where I know how to fuel my body to feel my best.
Right.
And also love and live my life fully.
Yeah.
With no boundaries, no restricting, no, food rules per se. And I think that for me has really helped me come into a better place of balance in all areas of my life.
Yeah. So I love that. So with the eating disorder, that was diagnosed when you were a teenager?
I was 19.
Yeah. Okay. And so, when you went through that, what do you feel like when you reflect back, was that from, because you were in sports, you ran, right? Okay. So you ran track. And then was that because you were just like so focused on the movement that you just were like, I'm not eating, and like kind of putting it aside? Or was it that like you hated food? Like what was the mental with that?
So
yeah.
Yeah. So for the first, I didn't really even know why I was restricting, but it was a way to have control.
Okay.
So initially it wasn't even really about the food or exercise, but my life was in a state of kind of transition, and it all kind of started my senior year of high school.
Okay.
I just didn't get really officially diagnosed till 19.
Okay.
There's a lot of transition. Had a best friend move away.
Okay.
Had just, typical teenager stuff happening. But it kind of rocked my world, and it was a way I could control something.
Yeah.
And so it became exercising more, eating less. And it just kind of, I realized I was good at it. And it just became this slippery slope that got so much more serious than I had initially ever intended it to be. But it kind of felt like once I was stuck in that trap,
like a tunnel vision,
and I couldn't get out, and it was too terrifying to get out.
Right.
Because at that point, the full effects of the mental illness had set in, and that fear of gaining weight was.
So was it like your parents? Did they sit there and they're like, hey, this is a problem? Or was it like, what, did you pass out? Like what happened? Like what?
So I went off to school in Colorado for a year. It got pretty bad there.
Okay.
Came back on breaks, and my parents knew there was definitely some issues going on. So there was someone at school, one of the school nurses, that would kind of keep tabs on me.
Okay.
Came home for the summer. They tried to help me gain weight that year. And then I went to a different school, transferred, and wanted to run cross country.
Okay.
So they kind of let my coach know, hey, she's going through some stuff.
Yeah.
So he was aware. My teammates definitely were aware.
Yeah.
They could see it. And there were other professors at school that were kind of aware and were asking questions, making sure I was okay. But it wasn't until it was during Christmas break of that year, my parents said, please, would you go get an evaluation? And so I had kind of kept things together through the season, the cross-country season, because I knew I needed strength to run. I needed to be fueled. Once the season was over, kind of went off the rails.
Yeah.
And I went into an eating disorders Institute, I guess is what they call it.
Okay.
Got evaluated, and basically they told me if I didn't stop, I would die.
Wow.
And I couldn't leave.
Okay.
I was admitted.
You had to stay.
That minute. My heart rate was stopping or slowing, had bradycardia.
Oh my gosh.
My blood pressure had dropped out. They said basically what was happening is all my body systems were just slowly shutting down.
My gosh.
And I was either going to have a heart attack or organ failure. Kind of was the two things on the table. So, yeah. And I didn't realize it was that serious.
Yeah.
I mean, I had gone for a run that morning.
Right. Like,
and I felt fine.
It happens so quickly. Right. And that's where, like, with the tunnel vision and stuff like that, it's like, you know, I see people, especially on social media and stuff, and, you know, and they're just going hard with like workouts, you know, pushing themselves or like driving themselves into the ground. It's like, you can like see it with other people, but when it is your own stuff, like, it's just, you know, you just don't even think it becomes your reality. Yeah. And I always say that, like, I love to create my own reality, but more so maybe you need to manifest that as like a positive reality, you know what I mean? Not just any reality, because I mean, I definitely, my health stuff went bad really fast, and it didn't seem like it was fast, but it, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it was just terrifying, and still dealing with repercussions of that. So it's like, I get it. And with this, like, after you had that, was it kind of like not an immediate wake up call, but was it just, or did you not take it seriously, or because you had to be there? So like, was it more of like they shut you in and you're like, whatever, like, I'll just do it? Or were you like happy, like, to have help, or?
No.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. No, I did not want to be there. I mean, it was a wake up call in one sense where I thought that, you know, I was going to die. What are you talking about? I was fine. I could eat a sandwich, probably. Yeah. I should put on a few pounds. Fine. But I would say, so I kind of went into the inpatient facility thinking, I don't really need to be here. Yeah. This isn't really for me. This is for the ones that are really kind of, and I think once I got out of the inpatient program, and then I had to transition to a pretty hardcore outpatient program that was 5 days a week. I think that's when it kind of started to hit me. Okay. That I really, oh yeah, this is a problem. Yeah. And I think it started to really wake me up to the fact that I had been living in such a prison, and I literally had not been living my life in any capacity for almost 2 years. Wow. I lived in fear constantly. Yeah. My brain never stopped. I mean, the exhaustion of trying to calculate every morsel. I mean, it's sort of like being in prep, right? Yeah. Trying to like calculate every single morsel that you are putting in your mouth, and then having anxiety anytime you would have to eat at someone else's house, or anytime you had to eat out, or if there was a special event coming up, and oh my gosh, what if there's cake? All of that.
And just for people listening too, like, so explain, like, with your like body shape, like, you never were on the brink of being obese. Never. Right? Okay.
No, I would always say I would be considered thin.
Yeah. Yeah. So this was more so, you know, in terms of with your eating disorder, like anorexia, bulimia, but like you didn't throw up? Or?
No bulimia. Okay. So it was literally, I mean, it was kind of anorexia, orthorexia. Okay. So basically not eating nearly enough, but also over exercising to an insane degree.
Okay. Yeah. And with that, did you have body dysmorphia and how you saw yourself?
Oh, 100%.
Okay. So how can you take us back to remember like a moment? Like, cause I remember, like, I have specific times where I can see myself and know what I saw, right? But what other people saw. Did you have moments like that?
You mean as far as moments of clarity, or
more so moments of like, you know, it could be negative or positive, but just where you looked at yourself in the mirror and it was not like you saw something different than what was there?
Oh, yes. And I think it wasn't so much, I knew looking at myself that I was thinner than I probably should be, but that felt safe. Yeah. Okay. Right? And so, I mean, I remember going through these body checks, right? Where you would test to make sure, you know, you still had a thigh gap, or you still had, you know, testing like the width of your arm, and I just remember going through, it was almost like a OCD checklist every day just to make sure the status quo was still on par. And so I think it wasn't like I looked in the mirror and I thought, oh, she's overweight. Like I never had that, but it was the fear of if I don't keep this up,
what could happen?
What could happen?
I see.
Yeah.
But it's just crazy because in my mind, to like put myself in those shoes, I'd be like, okay, that could happen when you've never been there. Like to have a fear that like, right? Because I feel like a lot of us that struggle with, once being a certain weight or yo-yoing, right? It's that fear of going back and that fear of failure and fear of reverse. But it's almost like you didn't have that. And so it's like to sit there, I can't even imagine. You know what I mean? Because I can like look back at a moment and be like, oh, I don't want to be, or I don't want to let myself get to that point, or when I was injured or whatever, right? Yep. And then to be like the fear of the unknown. Correct. Just don't know.
And I think that's what makes anorexia such a strange, I mean, it really is a mental health disorder. 100%. It is a mental illness. There's really no rhyme or reason to it. It doesn't make sense. And I mean, and even now for me, having gone through it and knowing the way that I felt in it, I can still, as a person now, go, why did I do that? Why did I intentionally harm my body, allow my body to literally eat every bit of muscle that I had, and I mean, even when I was in the midst of the worst of it, I was getting my degree in kinesiology with an exercise science emphasis. Like I knew better. I knew how to fuel my body. I mean, I was going to go into be a PT. Like I was going to keep going. And so,
it's wild.
You can know better and still.
Well, 100%. I mean, and we train people that are doctors and nurses and stuff like that are like, they know better, but that they don't feel like they're their healthiest, right? Because they put the others before themselves and things like that. So when you were going through all this, was there a relationship you were in? Was it anything like that? Was that harming you, helping you through?
Yeah. Like romantically? No.
Okay.
Because was there some of that pre? Yes.
Okay.
And then the way some of that went, I think contributed a little bit to just the start of things. But I would say once I was in the midst of the worst of it, I don't think a guy wanted to touch me with a 10-foot pole. I think it just, how sick I was just emanated off of me.
Right.
And I think there were moments where people were interested and then they saw the extent.
Right.
Which there was definitely,
No, I totally get that. Cause that's like, even within my deepest, like in the prep, I was sitting here and I was just like, like, you know what I mean? I was like, what would I have? I mean, not to say you have to go, overeat or do these things or go drink or whatever to have a partner or whatever. Right. But I was like, what do I have to offer to somebody? Because it was like, a strict routine of like, I can't even breathe. I can't even go out to have, grilled chicken with you, or I don't have enough energy to get off this couch. You have to come sit with me. Like I really had to sit there and think about the quality of that, and to figure out what was that balance and like, how can I just like not let loose, but like find that, you know?
Yeah. And I think that was part of it for me too, is I couldn't even build meaningful female relationships during that time, because I think for a lot of them, and I get it, it was too hard. It was too hard to watch me continually, like basically slowly kill myself over time. And then to spend time with me. It's not like anyone's going to ask me to go out to eat, because that's going to be stressful.
Right.
And no one wanted to ask me to work out because they knew I shouldn't be working out any more than I already was. So it was a really lonely, such a dark, horrible time. And I think that was the one kicker that really kind of got me over that last hump, was realizing, oh my gosh, my life is so much more full and joyful and meaningful.
Yes.
And I can actually pour into other people now instead of being so completely self-focused.
Yeah.
And I think during that time, without intending to, I was so selfish.
Yeah.
Because it was all about what my brain was doing.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I know, I've seen other females go through this type of thing, right? And you're exactly right of like, you're not even trying to exile yourself, like, but it's just what happens because people feel like they can't ask you. And that's why I try to be clear with my best friends and stuff like that. Like, no, please ask me to go do something, like, cause I'll retreat if not. Right. And, and so it's just like, that's why I was wondering about, kind of the backstory too of like the partner and things like that. Like, cause your parents never like verbally abused or said anything like.
Honestly, I grew up in literally the best home.
I
Like
thought
they were
so
so
because you
warm
guys are
and
still really
supportive
close and yeah.
Yep.
And where do they live?
In Minnesota.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's awesome. And then, and that you guys were able to like get through all of that without any, hard feelings or anything, cause I know, that had to have been a hard time. That was from 19 to how old? That was like.
So I would say, well, it was kind of really 18.
Okay.
The worst of it was like 19 into 20. I would say I really didn't get over, I would say kind of like the final hump till it was kind of 25-ish.
Okay.
I mean, truly,
Mid-20s.
just, I would say there was just still some of that, the brain, like maybe not acting on it, but still some of that over exercising, some of that maybe a little bit too restrictive during certain phases or periods of time.
Well, let's like break that down for people listening. What would you say? What did you consider over exercising?
So much cardio.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Because
I would run and run and run. And, it's hard. It's tricky because I also back in the day was a distance runner.
Yeah.
And so I trained for a lot of marathons.
Yeah.
And really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And found a lot of joy in running with other people.
Okay.
But I think, especially when it was really bad, it was I'd already gotten my run in that day.
Yeah.
But maybe I ate a little more than I wanted to at dinner.
So it's punishment.
So I'd go out at 8:30 p.m.
Yeah.
in the middle of January and go run stupid 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Because, I should,
Right.
I mean, it's dumb.
It's not dumb. I mean, I get it.
But
Like,
I think the biggest thing for me with the over exercise is there was always somewhat of that focus of what can I do that's going to burn the most calories in the amount of time that I have.
Yeah.
So it was never about like, I just want to get strong.
Right. The intention was always negative.
It was always like a punishment or, ooh, I know I've got to go out to eat tomorrow night, so I'm going to do extra something today. Yeah. It was just always this, like, it was like a pay in, pay out type mentality
Reward
with it.
System and
Yep. And so I think that honestly really shifted for me once I started getting serious about lifting.
Okay. When was that?
I mean, honestly, after Jack and I got married.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really, I mean, my brain was better, but I feel like it kind of jumped over that final little hump after I had kids.
Okay.
That to me was such a game changer as far as giving myself grace.
Yes.
Loving really actually loving my body.
Yeah.
Not just saying like,
it
oh,
carried
yeah. But seeing what it could do.
Right.
Watching the things that it had been through. I mean, and some of it because of my eating disorder. There's a lot of stuff I still deal with because of that.
Okay.
But being able to, see what it could do, and then just focusing on like growing a human and keeping a human alive, and then just I think being grateful for. Even with all of the things that I had to work through, that I could still come out stronger.
Well, yeah. And that you were able to have kids and that you were able,
oh my gosh,
physically.
That's a whole other thing. Yeah.
So did you have to have any type of treatments or anything to help, or was it?
No,
okay.
It was, and I was actually told I was 20, I'd gone to a gynecologist and she said, your uterus is the uterus of a menopausal woman.
Yeah.
And that was pretty terrifying.
Yeah.
I said, well, does that mean I can never have kids? And she said, I don't know.
Yeah.
But you certainly can't right now.
Right.
Unless you start to fix some things. And I got pregnant with both of my boys less than a month after trying.
Wow. Okay.
Which honestly, I think is a miracle.
So, well, how old were you? Because you've gotten through to, the main part of the eating disorder where you're kind of coming over the head, hill of that with it being 25. And then you met Jack when?
So we met in, I would say, 24, 25.
Okay.
That's kind of when I moved to Nashville.
Okay.
And then he and I met that next year.
Okay.
When I was 26.
Okay.
And then married at 27.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. And then had kids at 30.
Okay. So, wow. So you did, so you had a few years like 3 years or so meeting him, like strength training, kind of getting into more healthier routine regimens like that. Like when y'all married, was he a trainer at the time? Was he?
Yeah.
Okay. So he was, okay.
The current location was there.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yep.
So he's running his business, doing all that, but he living a healthy lifestyle. So you have that support in that. Was he, when you, I guess like, cause he was you dated somebody in between that, right? Like from when you, okay. And had all that go down. Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you ever have a situation where you had like explained it to him and you were just like, this is something I battle with still, like it's in the back of my mind?
Yeah.
Okay. And then what was his kind of take on everything?
Honestly, he was the first guy I'd have ever dated, Jack.
Yeah.
Who actually got it. And I don't know if it's just him, being in the fitness industry and kind of understanding, but he was the first one that heard me, who understood it and also knew how to get me out of my head.
I love that.
And because that was the biggest thing, I would have these, and we're girls, like we can sometimes still have those things that just swirl. And if I can just voice them, and he would always be so matter of fact.
Yeah.
Which is,
which is good and bad.
Logical.
Yes, yeah.
But also it would be it was the exact thing where he would give me a reality check.
Yeah.
Tell me the truth. Tell me what's actually truth.
Right.
Versus what's spinning in my head.
Yeah.
And it was all I needed just to be able to voice it, have him hear, understand, and then say, okay, but then let's actually think about what's true.
Yes.
In this situation.
And I love that because there's so many times where I literally was like, I could feel myself going crazy, but I had to literally be like, I had to talk negatively to myself and be like, I was like, shut the heck up. Like, that's not real.
Yes.
Like, that's not real.
Yep.
Stop the nonsense. Like, I had to literally say that. But again, it was because I had practiced dealing with stuff so much on my own back in college, and same type of things when my body dysmorphia and things were heightened, that I was like, literally get over yourself. Like, I had to say that multiple times throughout the preps and stuff, just to be like, it is okay. But if I could have had someone, like, it was almost like to lean into that support, because like that was where China and a couple of other girls who've been on the podcast, I had reached out to them, and they were great and they were kind of that safe haven, but it was like through Instagram, or sometimes I could call on the phone, whatever. But like, I know that had to have just been such a huge help. Just to hear that. Because sometimes it is. It's just like, you don't need a slap in the face, but you need like you know what I mean? Just like that, like a hard line of like, no, this is false.
Correct.
With the holidays right around the corner, if you know anybody going through eating disorders, body dysmorphia, any challenges, please feel free to share this episode with them. We want this to be a safe haven. We want people to reach out with any questions. And we just want to be able to support you throughout your mission and throughout your journey as well. And guys, if you haven't yet, please subscribe to this podcast, like it, share it with a friend, and give it to Mel. And we're always looking for more sponsors for the Love Your Body podcast for this next 2024 season. So if you are someone interested, please feel free to reach out to Danny at DannyFitness.com and we'll send you over a proposal.
Hey, and if you guys are in... you can redo that, right?
You're good.
We'd also love you guys to come check out Next Level Fitness. We're located right on Church Street, and have a great crew of personal trainers. We've got about 20 different trainers with all different styles, whatever your goals are, whether it's me or one of our other awesome male or female trainers. We'd love to see you there.
As we're talking about, all the serious stuff, right? You know, and all the challenges. I do just want to say, like, I'm having a great Love Your Body day. I don't know for anybody that's watching. I mean, I just had my protein shake. I got my, my almonds, my strawberries. Like, I'm feeling good, fueled. I feel strong. Like, you know, and I know I've asked you this before and everything, but, you know, as you've come to Move Fit and as you've, you know, started to love yourself more, like, you know, is there any, you know, strength goals you have right now, any aesthetic goals, anything going on that you're training for?
Goals.
Yeah.
Dude.
What you got?
There's strength goals.
Okay.
So I'm gonna give a tiny short backstory. I'll try to make it super short, but
You're
then
fine.
so post eating disorder, I got perineal nerve dysfunction in my left quad.
Okay.
So basically my body just continued to eat itself to such an extent that it started to eat the sheath around that nerve. So basically this left quad's numb always.
Okay.
Just
we have that in we have that in common. Like,
yeah,
wow.
it's been numb for 20 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so it doesn't fire very well.
Right.
And then I had my second son, Ethan. He was huge. He got stuck coming out. We came out. Everything was okay. But it really messed up my hip.
Yeah.
And after a long time with PT and all that kind of stuff, figured out it was probably a torn hip labrum.
Okay.
So kind of have a lot going on with that whole left side of my body. There was a lot of instability in my hips. I would have to take huge chunks of time off when it would flare up. And it's something I'll just kind of deal with. There's things I probably will never be able to do well in the gym. And that, like, I don't think I'll ever do a pistol squat on that side.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's okay. It's not the end of the world.
But I've recently, so really struggled with anything with a bar.
Okay.
Barbell squats, straight bar deadlifts, anything like that was really difficult just with the mobility in my hips. And just I didn't have the stability to kind of keep the correct form before I felt like it was going to fail on me. Recently. Yeah. And so, sorry, lost my train of thought.
You're good. So this came from your eating disorder, and so then they exacerbated because of after having Ethan, and so you, with straight bar and stuff, I could get that. So I do remember seeing you a lot with dumbbells, doing like your RDLs and doing everything. Okay, makes sense.
Yep. And then I did okay with a trap bar.
Okay, yeah.
But still had to be really careful. So basically, I could never really push the weight to the level I wanted to without feeling like I was either going to get really injured or something was going to go wrong. And recently have been PRing on my low bar squats.
Hey, okay.
And straight bar deadlifts have also been. So I have some goals with both of those.
Okay, let's hear them.
Well, so I want to, they're not that big.
That's okay.
They're pretty low. You're a strong woman, so these are low.
There's no
low
comparison. We're
goals.
not even doing that.
But I really want to be able to back squat, like, it's not that much, but like I'm at 155 right now.
That's awesome.
With my barbell back squat. And I would like to, at some point, be able to squat 200.
Yeah.
And I would like to be able to deadlift anywhere from 225 to 250.
Okay. I love that.
So.
And for everyone listening too, like, here's the thing. You can't look at numbers. I think that some people do that on social media, especially where they look at numbers and they're like, oh, well, their numbers are better than mine or this or whatever, the greater numbers. But if you look at your percentage of like your muscle mass and your body weight, because if you don't mind sharing, what's your body weight right now?
Probably around 140 to 145.
Okay. So again, over body weight, being able to back squat. That's why I always tell my girls as a marker, like even just being able to back squat your body weight is great. That's a huge accomplishment. And with good form and everything.
Right.
And then to, add 50 plus pounds to that. I mean, that's awesome. I love that.
So I haven't tried any 1 rep maxes because it still makes me too nervous. But like my 1 rep max is like the 5 rep range. Like if I can pull this 5 times, if I can squat this 5 times, and then we'll just kind of keep gradually progressing. And
I love
If
it.
I have a spotter, maybe we'll try, but we'll see.
Yes, out of all the people
Yeah.
at the gym, come on. Like, come on. You can always come to LIB
But
and
I think that's, and honestly, as far as aesthetic goes, I mean, I'm 40 now.
Yeah.
And so I think my goal is to just maintain as much muscle mass as I can.
Yeah.
Feel good, move well.
Right.
And I mean, I feel like those are kind of I mean, of course we all have aesthetic goals. I'd like to keep my abs as long as I possibly can and all of that kind of thing. But I think just being able to figure out the right balance where I'm not getting injured.
Yep.
I'm moving well.
Yeah.
I'm still enjoying what I'm doing.
Right.
I'm enjoying my life. And I have the energy to run around with my kids after it's all said and done.
For sure.
So,
I love that. And for moms listening, you know, everyone that you probably talk to, I mean, and I want to know what your opinion, like, so like, how do you look at this? Because I have different school of thought, I feel like sometimes, because again, I'm not married and I don't have kids. So when you are with your partner, like how do you, this is how I say it. I'll do the example. I look at it as God's first, the partner is second, the child is third. Is that how you look at it? Okay.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you kind of similar, you know, but
Yeah.
I didn't know. Because again, someone listening to this is probably like, whoa. The kid is first. The kid is everything. The kid is all things. And again, I don't have children. So that's why I wanted to hear from you. Mm-hmm. How do you, for them listening, how do you say, you know, and also, hold on. Well, actually, let's put this in here too. So God, yourself, your partner, and then your child. Because I totally took myself out of it.
I know. Well, I think you get married. Mm-hmm. You and your partner are supposed to be one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So at the same level that you meet and love and care for your partner, you need to also be meeting and loving and caring for yourself in that same way, or you can't show up for your partner in the way that you need to.
Beautifully said. Yes.
There's just no way around it.
Yeah.
And if you're not putting God first, you know, if you are a believer, like there is no way that the other two things are ever going to work the way you need them to work.
For sure.
They're just not. So, but I do think it's really important for parents to remember, and I've seen it happen over and over again, where that ratio gets skewed. And then that kid or kids, whatever, comes first. And then that husband or wife gets moved down the totem pole. And that's where things go, I think, truly awry. Because the kids then become the center of your universe.
Yep.
Your entire life revolves around them.
Yep.
Your partner feels left to the wayside.
Right.
You start to forget the reasons that you fell in love in the first place.
Yeah.
And then what happens when once again those kids move on with their lives?
You're just left
you're empty nesters, and you don't know each other anymore.
Right.
And you don't have any kind of connection, or don't even probably like each other anymore at that point. And that I think is just a devastating way a lot of relationships end up.
So did you and Jack, were y'all always on the same page with that? Mm-hmm. Okay. And y'all been married for how long?
Well, let's see, 13 and a half.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I love that. Because like I said, I just, you know, again, I guess then you could also say though, how do you deal with, you know, a broken family, right? So like, how would you, if you want to give some advice, be like presented, like, how would you look at that? Would it still be the same? Or because if that person that you're with already have a child, then how do you say like, oh yeah, this person that's been in your life for much longer, that's your own blood, is now second to that person? You know what I mean? Or like,
that, to be honest, that dynamic, I don't know what I would do. I really don't, because let's just say, for instance, something happened to Jack and I was left as a single mom with two young boys, and years down the road, let's say I got remarried. Who then is the priority there? And that I do not have an answer to, but I think anyone coming into a relationship like that would have to understand, like, for a minute, like, I'm going to have to take second place here. Yeah. And, you know, as like the relationship grows and develops and all of that, like there can be more of a balance that comes into that. But to be truly honest, like if the kids are there first, and then someone else joins the party,
Yeah.
it is
joins the party. Yeah.
I think it would
Just asking for a friend.
But I think that it's a really difficult position
Yeah.
for all parties involved.
For sure.
Like it's just, it's hard. And to be honest, I don't have the right answer for that.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what I would do.
No, and I get it too. And I think that every, it's case by case, right? And everyone's different, and there's different situations, because there's people who've been widowed, there's been people, there's different, situations and things like that. But I definitely think that the partners have to come together as that unit always, and that if they don't, then it's just going to be a constant, like, okay, well, you're just this side part. You never fully feel immersed in it, And so, yeah, but no, I definitely love that you guys have that strong dynamic. I think that's important. I think that's why the business has been successful. I think that's why you've had a lot of, even though you've gone through personally so many trials and tribulations, I feel like you have been blessed,
So blessed.
which has been awesome to be a part of, to see, to watch, and everything, and just to see like you representing overcoming and being a strong woman. So, if you are kind of looking at, like, I don't know, with social media and things like that right now, what has been a way that you, I guess, well, actually, hold on, I want to talk about this first, because you bake a lot, and I can't wait, because I'm going to have those protein muffins and stuff like that. But, as we're getting into the holidays and stuff like that, I'm sure you make the food for everybody, right? Okay. Does that not trigger you ever? Does that not, was that a way to, like, kind of cope with things before? Like, I mean, how does that?
I feel like that has also evolved over time,
Okay.
because it was, I think, a way that I coped with food is I made food for everyone.
Right.
But I would make it and I would give it away. And I would make it and I would give it away. That was just, but I think there was a part of me where it was very unhealthy. And then there was other part of me that was very nurturing. And it just made me so happy to make people happy through food.
Okay.
Like that. And it's still to this day, I love that.
Yes.
I love to do that. I love to host people at my house.
Yeah.
I love to bring people food. I love to feed people.
Yeah.
I'll bring food to the gym. But I think that was a part of my healing.
Yeah.
Is because I did love trying new recipes. I loved seeing, and I think it took that fear, just being surrounded by it, and constantly. I mean, it's like if you're an alcoholic, you just take alcohol out of your life. If you have an eating disorder, you still have to eat every single day.
Yeah, you can't just cut it out.
You can't cut it out. Like it's just, it's constantly in your face.
Yeah.
And I think that was a really healing way for me to kind of lose some of those hangups.
Yeah.
Initially I think there were ways I'd try to recreate something as low calorie as possible.
Yes.
Right. Or to make it healthy. And I'll still constantly tweak recipes to make them healthier, just because I knew my kids don't need that much sugar.
Right. Yeah.
They're good.
Yeah. They're,
but also I know if I eat this, I'm still going to get full 100% satisfaction out of it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to feel terrible once I'm done eating it.
For sure.
Because I've had a lot of gut health issues over the last few years and stuff too. Right. So, but I would say holidays, when I was in the thick of it, were excruciating.
Okay.
It's probably what was the catalyst to my parents saying, you have to go get evaluated, was Christmas that year.
Yeah.
I mean, my dad woke up one morning. I got up before everybody was awake. It was still dark out. Mind you, we're in Minnesota.
Right.
So it's cold and it's snowy. And I went out for a run thinking I could go run, be back before anybody was awake.
Oh, wow.
They woke up. They realized I'd been gone for a really long time. And he came looking for me, terrified that I was dead in a ditch somewhere.
Dang.
I mean, I was gone for probably 2 hours.
Yeah.
In the snow, running, because it was Christmas and I knew there was going to be caramel rolls and egg dish that I'd have to eat.
Right.
So yes, then horrible. Now I love holidays.
Okay.
I love it so much.
Good.
They make me so happy. I'm hosting Thanksgiving this year.
Yeah.
And so it's come full circle.
Yeah.
Completely for me.
That's awesome. I'm so glad that it has. 'Cause like, I think that, I think that it's something that like, it'll always, do you think that it'll always kind of be in the back of your brain, but it's like something that you feel like you really just have such a good handle on that it's like, it just dissipates like less and less. So there's somebody like listening, maybe feeling like they're like in the thick of it, like that they're not going to get to that point. Like,
yes. So yes. So I will say, I always call it like that eating disorder voice that likes to just, it will still pop in on occasion.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay.
But it gets so much quieter.
Yeah.
As time goes on.
Yeah.
And it almost becomes just like a little whisper that you're like, that's ridiculous. And it's gone.
I love that. Okay.
So yeah, I think there's always going to be a little bit of that. There's moments where I'm going to go through some body dysmorphia. Yeah. Sure. You know, there's going to be moments where like a fleeting thought will come in, but it goes away so quickly and there's no action tied to it. And I think that's the key is there's nothing that about my life that changes because that thought kind of came in, came out.
Gotcha. And the thing is too, is that you had to take action to like get past this. It wasn't just something that just happened or you went to the treatment and then everything was better or whatever. Like you literally had to work at it every day.
And you have to make the choice and you have to want to make the choice.
Right.
It's like if you have a friend, again, that's an alcoholic.
Yes.
They have to want to get clean. They have to want it. And that was the thing with me. I didn't want it. For a while. I was like, I don't really want to get better because I kind of like to be this way. Yeah. And so it wasn't, I always tell people, unfortunately, which it's hard to stomach, but sometimes you have to let people hit the bottom of the barrel before they're ready to actually change.
Oh, 100%. I think a lot of the theme of most of the women that have been on this podcast is that we all have got to that point where everybody's lows are different, right? Yours is running, in Minnesota in the freezing cold, on Christmas.
Yeah.
Mine was sitting eating a freaking big ass, what was it? Calzone at like 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. You know what I mean? In college. And I was just like, well, what am I doing?
What am I doing?
Literally, I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, stop the nonsense. Like, and look, this is a medium pizza folded in two. Like it was just like bizarre. But really though, it was just, that constant of like hating that I couldn't recognize who was in the mirror, and seeing that. And even like when going through the prep and stuff, like, there would be times where I'm like, I'm just not lean enough, I'm not this and that, whatever. And then I was like, oh my gosh, like I couldn't even recognize myself in the mirror. So like, it was such a mind shift throughout all of it of, you get down, you get down, you get down, you get down, and then having to put weight back on and almost feel like a failure. And it's just so many things, to that. And I know that some girls had talked to me and they were like, had told me that they had previous, eating disorders, whatever, but like, that's why they would never want to do a show and stuff like that. And I'm like, it can happen to anybody, or like with any issues or anything, you have going on as a female. It's just because I feel like a lot of us deal with all of that stuff in some respect, Oh
yeah.
Like and that might not be to that severity, right? But like I've thrown up my food before, like I've gotten sick, and sometimes purposely, sometimes not, right? Or I don't know. And so it's so hard because I feel like with the pressure of social media and everything with the whole comparison, right? Like I didn't really have it with comparing to other people. It was just mainly to myself. But when you when you're truly asking yourself, do you find yourself ever comparing to like other women or other younger or moms or anybody like that? Or is it really just looking at yourself being like, okay, like I just have to be my best. Like what does that look like currently?
Depends on the day.
I was about to say, what is it? Like,
for sure. And some days I can be fully 100% in that love your body. This is, what I can do. It's about what my body can do, not about what my body can do compared to her body.
Yeah.
Or what my body looks like compared to her body.
Yeah.
But again, like I said,
Yeah.
we're flawed.
Right.
There's still going to come in some that, and so, sometimes that comparison game can be a slippery slope.
Yeah.
And I think there's times social media messes with you, which sometimes I just hate Instagram.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think it's just sometimes when those thoughts pop up, having that person in your life that can be your reality check.
Yeah.
And just say, stop.
Coach, support, family or whoever
Friend,
you can
partner,
find. Yes.
Yep, whatever.
And the other thing too is what I do, and I don't know if you've ever done this, but and you kind of alluded to it about with your body, about appreciating what it can do for you, right? So I either look back at a time that was hard for me where it was like, okay, this workout might be hard, but I remember when I couldn't move, right? So putting that in perspective. Or when I look at a girl and I'm like, wow, she just naturally has a great physique and she looks like a model just because, I'll take it back and say to myself, well, again, I it doesn't matter that she does because I know what I have to bring to the table. And I know that I can lift heavier. I know that I can do this, or I know that I can do that. And again, trying to find fulfillment within myself so that doesn't get to me. And I'm not going to lie, it was very challenging, there in the prep with everything going on and stuff and being around, certain bodies, within the gym.
Yeah.
And that was very hard because I felt like I was combating so many things at one time, right? I'm trying to represent strong women, trying to represent loving myself, trying to do something that I had never done really before, right? To continue with this, bodybuilding, something that, was put that I never would have thought that I would be able to do. Then to also still be the symbol of strength with the guys, but then also protect my clients from feeling, less than, or feel like they can feel safe in their space. There were so many things. And then people continually asking about my food, stuff like that. It's I couldn't even breathe. You know what I mean? And it was again, it was all heightened because of the prep, but that right there, that mental game was horrible. That was such a horrible space. And it was no one's fault. It was nothing that anyone did. There was no, there was no specific thing. It was just I could not deal with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that where it really came down to was I was I'm working so hard. And I feel like a lot of people might feel like this, where they're doing everything quote unquote right, but they're still getting shit on, or they're still not enough, or they still don't look the way, or they still don't, and so it's almost what I had to come to realization to a long time ago was that I will never be the, what's it called? I will always either piss somebody off by the way I look, have somebody be jealous of the way I look, and be frustrated with the way, there's always, I can't control other people's stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? And even with Instagram, with them banning my stuff all the time, it's no matter how small I get, no matter how big I get, it always seems to be that it's never enough. So I have to be enough with what it is, right? I have to be good with what it is. And that was something that was when you get to your bottom and your lowest at the prep, just energy and everything like that, you're just geez, I can't even, I don't know. Does that make any sense?
I've got nothing left.
Yeah, I have nothing left. And to where you almost gets to a good point where you're I can't even care. You know what I mean? It was stuff was getting banned on social media. And I was well, all right.
That's the way it is.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just yeah. And so it's so hard because it's every aspect, I think, where I've almost where God sees me trying to find validation from other things beside myself. He's nah, not gonna let that happen. But you know what I mean? Because I can't have that because you have to have it. You have to find it. You have to get it and create it within, because that's the only way that you're going to survive in this, or you're just gonna be miserable comparing yourself to everyone around you.
Gosh. And especially, for myself, kind of being the old lady in the gym, I know,
as you look like the youngest one. I mean, seriously.
No, but it can be a mind game for me too.
Yeah.
Where I'm okay. And then you just have to, like you said, you have to remember what your body has been through, what your body can now do, the hurdles that you've overcome. And I even one day just sporadically put an Instagram post up about it. I was like, you know what? Like, 20 years ago, you almost died because you were starving to death.
Yeah.
Like, but look what you can do now.
Yeah.
7 years ago, right after my son was born, I was told you're probably never going to run again. And, lifting was excruciating. I couldn't, and I was like, look what I can do now.
Yeah.
I had meningitis, and my health was horrible. I mean, I just tanked for years after my first son was born. And it was, what's that?
Meningitis?
Meningitis. It's so basically it's like it's a infection in your spinal cord.
Yeah, your spinal cord.
Yeah. So thankfully mine was viral. So it was less dangerous.
Yeah.
But it took me out. I was so sick and it took me out. I was almost incapable of really functioning well for about a month.
Yeah.
And then it was years of just kind of continual immune system stuff. But I think all that to say, you have to just own your own stuff.
Yeah.
And that's cliche, but that whole comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes.
Is so true.
Yeah.
And it can be very true, especially in the fitness world.
Well, and like, news alert, like some people do have it easier. Like, I'm just going to say it. Like, some people
for sure
do have it easier.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that it is, it's one of those things where, like, again, it's not to compare. It's just like I've always just wanted like people to understand like the mission and understand that like that this is so much bigger than just looking a certain way. You know what I mean? That this is what I want it to be, is to change how we view each other, how we see each other, and that body can be just as beautiful as that body, can be just as beautiful as that body, but in their own ways. And so many times we're still getting put in our face that like, no, this size is good, that size is bad. This hair color is good, this hair color is bad. You know what I mean? And still trying to be put in these boxes as women. And as women, like, we have to take that stand to be like, no, like, we can celebrate everyone's bodies. We can celebrate other, and find beauty within each other. And when I've seen you, I have never once, and no one has ever once, looked at you and said to me, the old lady in the gym. Like, no words have ever been uttered that at all. Like, it's always like, damn, look at those abs. Like, they're like, oh, she's a mom. Like, pop off. Like, literally, like, all the comments. Like, and I know that, again, it's irrelevant if you don't see it for yourself, right? So it's like on days like that, that's why I try to always remind myself of like positive self-talk and just to look back at things. And that's why I video my workouts. And that's why I put those things up there, because when I don't feel like getting out of bed, I watch my stories. I'm like, man, you were crushing it yesterday. Like, or like, man, like that back though, or like looking at all those things. And and it's so funny because I find myself now, I don't even look at when I was my leanest on stage and be like, yes, I looked pretty and like whatever, but I'm not like, that's not what I'm looking at as that was my ultimate happiness. Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, I'm like, oh, me heavier, quote unquote, but like, look at how much more ripped or strong or whatever. That's why like weight is so irrelevant. And then we all get so caught up in all this stuff where it's just like, until we truly change the mindset, like nothing is actually going to change. But we have to speak about it. We have to talk about it. It can't be this constant, SKINNY, like, nonsense of, no, we want to be strong, capable women, not just existing.
Well, and I think too, at least at next level, I feel like there's such a better shift into what can we, like, what strength can we build? What can your body do?
Yes.
Like, those are like the two main focuses, I feel like, for all of my female clients.
Yes.
Sure, do some of them have some like, hey, I'd love my booty to get a little bit.
For sure. And those are fine
whatever,
too.
Great.
Aesthetic goals are great too.
But I feel like they're all on a good path of, I just want to feel better. I want to be healthier. I want to move better. And I want to be strong.
But Mel, But that's because you are putting that energy out there. Mm-hmm. That's the difference.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? So
I think as a female trainer, it is essential that we are giving our clients the right message.
Yes.
So 90% of my female clients, when they come to me, there's been a few that have come in. I really want to, track macros. I want to do this. I want to really, and I really make sure mentally that that's going to be a good thing for them.
Yes.
Because I said, we can do that, and I'm happy to help you with that. But I'm not a dietitian. I will not tell you what to eat. I will give you good ranges of where your macros should lie based on your goals. I will not give you specifics because that is not my job.
Yep.
But there are very, very few that I think can do that effectively without it becoming an all-consuming obsessive problem.
Yes.
And so what I tell them is I said, let's focus on strength.
Yeah.
Let's focus on form. Let's focus on just teaching you how to move your body in the way that it can.
Yeah.
And let's get you as strong as you possibly can. And I think a lot of those goals that you have for yourself are going to fall in line. Sure, we can talk about nutrition. I can help you make better decisions. We can talk about other aspects of your life that we can make some adjustments and help. But I think taking that whole, let's, I don't even like to talk about weight loss, to be honest, with my clients at all.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's just talk about strength goals and let's see where it leads us.
Exactly. And because again, you're building muscle, like you're losing body fat, like it will all come together if you trust the process. And that is key. And that's where too, I get it. Like it would be like, I liked with the prep and stuff like that, like being told what to eat, things like that. Right. But it is just a Band-Aid if you are someone who needs to learn how to eat for your body. And so it is, because then that's why you see a lot of girls go the opposite way after a show, because they have no idea now. They don't know what to eat. They don't know how to do things, right? It's the same thing with a client. If they work with you and you give them this plan and they follow it for 6 weeks and they lose weight and then whatever, and they come back or they stop using you and they put all their weight back on, then they're upset. It's again, it wasn't a realistic, healthy lifestyle change. And the thing is that what I love about seeing you do and a couple of the others over there at Next Level, is, there's such an influx of women who just look great that have become influencers, trainers online, things like that. And then my friends, because I don't train my friends, they'll be like, oh yeah, I did this one plan, but it didn't really make sense. They gave me a food plan and it didn't really work for me. And then the workouts, and I'm like, yeah, because you didn't have support, right? Yeah. True support, real support. You just bought a plan. Second, this person looks great, but again, you're just idolizing wanting to look like them. And that's the thing is you can say oh, Danny, I'd love to have shoulders like you or your back or whatever. That's cool. But I don't want any of my clients ever want to look like me. You know what I mean? I want them to look like themselves, look like their best self. Yeah. And that's how I think that so many times people are trying to look like their trainer. And I can't stand that. I don't know if you've dealt with that or if anybody's ever said that to you, but I mean,
I've definitely had clients that have come, well, how do I look like you? What do I do to look like you? Right. I'm like, well, no, you just need to be you. Yeah. We can help you become the best you possible. Yes. But you should never want to be me.
Right. And also that it's just, again, it's not realistic. It's so, I think that was my biggest realization in college when I started my healthy lifestyle journey was someone was like, well, who, let's make a Pinterest board of who you want to look like or who you want to be. And I was like, I don't have anyone. There was no actress, there was no whatever that I was because if anything, if I looked at them, I was like, well, they're 5'4", I'm 5'8", I was like, I can't shrink, or they're small, petite. I'm never going to be those bones. I'm going to weigh more. It's just, again, that's being thinking realistically about it. And I think so many times we get so warped. They're like, no, I can. I can become 5'4", and it's no, actually you can't. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I get it, dreaming big and things like that. But on some level, we have to be realistic about it. And that is what I want people to really just sit with and to look at that and say when they're looking at their life and their healthy lifestyle goals and things like that, how do we, keep it real and keep it as, structure to our routines and our regimen as possible.
Yep.
And just feel like our best self.
Yep.
But yeah, so I did want to ask you, so in terms of like moving forward with things, with your goals and stuff like that, is there any advice, like when you're like kind of reflecting on everything? Because I went to you guys threw a party for me, and it was this very sweet going away party, which was awesome. Because now I'm training exclusively with the LYB, and and that was really special. And I actually got to eat the food, and that was really nice. That was nice. And because every time it just lined up, I would never be able to have your treats and all your stuff, and it was so good. But like, is there? I guess, is there anything that you would have told, like when you're reflecting on all that? Because like your house, you've done a lot of the updates with it. It looks beautiful. Your kids are doing great. Your husband's doing great. Like, is there anything that you would have told your younger self that you wish that you could have said to her and been like, it's going to be okay? You know what I mean? Like, it was, because I'm sure there was a time where you're just like, what, is there anything to look forward to? Like,
Right.
Like,
is there anything beyond this?
Right.
I think the biggest thing, and if my younger self would have listened, I don't know, but I think just like everything that you have dreamed of since you were a little girl, you're still gonna get that.
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna make me cry. Because there was a point I thought I'm never gonna have kids. Yeah. And then I felt like my brain was too messed up to ever get into a real relationship and have a man actually love me for me. I was like, I'm a mess. Like, no one's going to want this. And so I think there was a lot of dark moments too, where I felt like this is it for me. I'm never going to work out again. And then when my health was in decline, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be well again. And just all these little moments of darkness, where I felt like it was so hopeless. I always knew there was hope, of course. Right. Like, I have Christ, like I always have hope, but there's things and dreams that you have for yourself, that there are times where you feel like that's not in the cards for me.
Yeah.
And little bit by little bit, and I will say patience, like be so patient. And also, just really like being more self-aware back then, I think would have been helpful. Yeah. But yeah, just hang on to that hope, because it's all still possible, and it's all still out there for you.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so beautiful. No, it's and it's just real, and I just feel like so many people don't open up about it, and they need to talk to someone. And again, it doesn't have to be this, I don't know, like this whole thing. Like, it could just be like simply reach out to somebody.
That honestly, that is probably one of the biggest things that I would say, whether you're going through something like an eating disorder or whatever it might be, to be honest, literally speak it. Yeah. When you voice that and you speak it, it loses its power. That could be just, the crazy thoughts that sometimes swirl into our brains, or, you're obsessing about something with food that you shouldn't be, or something about your body or exercise or a relationship. Right. Literally speak it to someone that will love you well through it. Obviously make sure it's a safe person, but literally speak that. And I feel like that thought or that feeling, it loses that power over you. Yeah. And for me, that was one of the most powerful things, was speaking what I was feeling and having someone there to say, that is not truth. That is not reality. Let's talk about what is.
I love that. Because I do think that some people look at it as like, okay, if you're a strong, independent woman or whatever, that you have to do this on your own. You have to be able to like come out from it or whatever. And I've gone through that time and time again, or that like someone's not going to understand, or they're going to take my goals or whatever. Right. But the more that I've opened up, the more that I've reached out to others, the better I've done. And the more the knowledge I've gained. And so it's just like, it really does take a team. And like with holidays, I know a lot of people are stressing out because of, what foods are they going to eat, or what's going to be prepared, or what's going to be there or whatever. So, my biggest things and my biggest takeaways I tell people is, one, it does not matter. Like if you are in a prep during holidays, like one, that sucks and I'm sorry. So like have fun with that. But you don't have to explain yourself to anybody. And also if you are going through something or whatever, like just being mindful and taking a beat, you don't have to rush to eat all the food. You can come back to it. Like something that my therapist told me that has helped me is like, she says, you have all the time you need. Mm-hmm. So when I start to get all frantic or start to whatever, I'm like, no, you have all the time you need. Like stop rushing yourself. Cause there's times where I'm like, I have to get this done and then I gotta do it here and I gotta do there and I gotta do this. And I'm like, no, you have all the time you need. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I just take it one thing at a time. And with me, it became a fearful thing with the food of like, there's never gonna be enough or I'm not gonna get enough or like, cause I only had a certain amount of hours to eat that refeed or that whatever. And it was just so toxic and so frustrating because I had felt that when I originally first started my journey, and, or even before that or whatever, when I was younger of like, we got to go hide the food or you got to, go away into your corner and eat by yourself. And like, I'm just now getting to the point where like that I feel okay to eat in front of people again. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so that was what was special. But the other night was like, okay, it's okay to have whatever. And at first I kind of was like, maybe because you had it was like tacos and like whatever and stuff like that, and just to be real, I was like, sitting there with literally only small bodies, you know what I mean, and we're sitting there and I was just like, I don't fucking care. Like I know it's like language, but I was like, I'm gonna eat this food. Like I haven't been able to do that, like because with everything, and I'm just gonna enjoy it. It was so great and I loved it, and there was no judgment. No one was judging me. There was nothing or whatever. And even if they were, like, who cares? Because like I enjoyed it, right? But so I think that so many times we get into these tunnel visions where we think that either someone is watching or someone is critiquing or someone is whatever. And there was someone that did say something. But about like with like when I was snacking about something and I was just like, nah, man, like it's straight. Like I'm having whatever I want because I'm good with it now, right? Yep. But before like I could understand where when something like that might have happened, it might have set me off, right, in a prep because of stuff. But again, I hate that. Like I hate that as women we feel like we have to explain ourselves or well I'm having these chips because I allotted them and whatever. And it's like, whoa, like no one asked. You know what I mean? Like, and
I promise you, they're not even paying attention.
Right.
90%. And if they are, that's something that they're dealing with that has nothing to do with you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so, it was like, for me, it was just one of those of like, okay, but take a step because I'm just now, again, starting to eat in front of people again. And like, and I don't want to say like that, but like guys, when you're just in a prep and stuff, you just start eating as quickly as you can and throughout the day and by yourself, whatever, or while you're training clients and stuff. So it does get to be where you're like, oh, I'm like out at a restaurant. How do I eat like this steak? Like I'm gonna cut this up or like, and so it's exciting to experience that again. And to really this time look at it as like food is just food. Like it is not this control. It is not this end all be all. Like you can fuel your body, you can love your body. So with the holidays, like if we can take the emotion out of it.
Correct.
If we can say to ourselves that like, we're just with family, that's the priority. Mm-hmm. And then like, we're just enjoying the time and we're eating, amongst that, like that is it versus we're going there to eat. And then like, that's
focus on the relationships that you have with the people that you love.
Yes.
Over anything else that might be there.
Yeah.
Whether that's.
And if you show up and you are 20 pounds heavier than what you were last year, or you're 20 pounds lighter than what you were last year, either way, it doesn't mean you should have different amounts of food based off of how you look. Like I remember I went to my aunt's house last year and she said, oh, so you're going to eat like the Thanksgiving food? Cause I was like, oh, I want to try it. Like I want to try to have Thanksgiving food this time. Cause I used to always bring my stuff. And I tried to have it and honestly, I was so sick because you know what I mean? Cause
you weren't used to it.
No, I wasn't used to it. But like, and she makes good food. But anyway, she's like, oh, because you're like SKI and NY now, you can eat this. And I was like, oh, that's so annoying. You know what I mean? Because I was like, ugh. And I guess I just hate that word. That's why I spell it. People are like, why did you spell it? I just hate saying it like that. Because it's such a negative connotation. Like, you know what I mean? Like skinny. Like, it's just like one of those. it's like those other words that I'm not going to mention that people say that that are like icky words. It's like that to me because it's just like, because I never valued that as like positive. You know what I mean? That to me means less. It means small. It means not
Weak.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not how I identify as myself. You know what I mean? And like, I don't like that. So anyway, but when she said that, I literally yelled across the room. I was like, I'm strong now. And that's all I said. And it can be kind of awkward, right? But if you don't say how you want to be perceived, then people will continue to keep putting you in that box, right? And so that's where I was like, no, like I'm strong now. Like, like I'm a strong woman. Like, so I'm going to eat how I want to eat, like whatever. And it not be, because I'm this amount of weight, so I can have this much food now. And again, you don't have to explain or anything like that, but I do think it's important to have the affirmations around those and like those languages. And like, even when my, family members will say negative things about themselves, I'll try to not correct them, but be like, hey, like, if you could just not say that around me, because I don't view you that way. Because think about it, if you said in front of your kids that you were this like, not attractive, like older woman or something like that, and you always talk negatively about that, they're like, you're a super mom. Like, what do you mean? You know what I mean? So they're probably going to tell you like, don't say that.
Yeah. And I think when you have kids too, you become so much more. And I mean, I have boys, so it's a little bit different, but I have my youngest is a little bit body conscious. He's a little thicker.
Yeah.
We call him he's like our little linebacker.
Yeah.
And
stacked,
he can be a little self-conscious in the pool. He wants to wear his shirt, that kind of thing. So we're already kind of aware of some of those things. And so we are even more careful than we would normally be, because I want him to love himself, love his body, be excited about what his body can do, think about being strong, and like focus on those aspects of who he is, so that he never has to go down that road where he feels shame or he feels less than because his body's a certain size or isn't a certain size. So I think, just making it about the relationship, that you have with the people you love, but also with yourself. Right. Going into it like, this is who I am, and I know this about me. And if someone still comments, oh, that's your third helping of mashed potatoes, huh? Just like, yep, they're great, aren't they?
Right.
Move along.
And move it along. There's no explanation. There's no, I worked out this morning.
Nope. Attach no shame to it. Attach no additional emotion.
Yeah.
Acknowledge the comment and go enjoy those mashed potatoes.
Yeah. I think that's great. I think that's the best advice that you can give anybody, like seriously, because like I said, holidays bring up a lot of trauma, a lot of sadness, but then also can be such a fun and happy time of a seasonal change of growth. Yeah. And whether you're in your journey, you're just starting, you've been in it, you've been around the block and back again or whatever, I hope that, everyone listening can take it for what it is and tell themselves that they can enjoy the day and just be their best self and just live in the moment, because you never know when it's your last. And like, how sad would that be to be like, man, I'm not saying to go over indulge with mashed potatoes, but like I didn't have a bite of the mashed potatoes. Like I didn't enjoy it because I was so obsessed about how it made me look around people, or what I mean?
How my jeans fit that day.
Yeah. And it's like, just wear the leggings. Like, I don't know, wear some cute like sweatpants or whatever if you're worried about that. But no, I love that so much. So Mel, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you. I love you so much. You've always just been, like I said, such a positive influence and somebody that I just genuinely look up to, just in this world and in this space of fitness, and more people need to be sharing your message. And you've been through so much, and thank you for sharing with us today.
Well, I love you, and thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you. Aw, that was so sweet.